Hey guys, welcome to the Touchdown Table. I'm Ryan, that's Tyler, that's Jordan. And this video sounds a little familiar because I feel like we've done a couple of these because we're talking about Antonio Brown going to a new team. So maybe he's actually in Tampa Bay to stay, but he is reunited with Tom Brady down in Tampa. We're going to talk about the move. Do we think it's going to work or will he be out of there in 3 weeks? We're going to talk about this and it should be an interesting discussion.
Yeah, I didn't know we had Dr. Seuss sitting here in the middle of the table. He said, "Here, Tampa Bay here to stay," getting some rhymes in
I didn't
there.
even mean it.
All
Wow.
day,
Yeah.
All day.
baling some hay.
All right, that's a reach.
Just Tampa Bay Rays. Anyways.
Are
Catching
they
some
winning?
crayfish.
I don't know. That's anyways, so Antonio Brown, yes, as Ryan said, it is actually official now. They announced it, not like it wasn't official before, but the Buccaneers officially announced that, yes, they are signing Antonio Brown. So this is going to be a 1 year, I think it's $2.5 million deal. So they're not losing much by signing Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown is going to an already stacked Bucs team, and especially Bucs offense, and especially Bucs wide receiving core. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You could throw Gronk in there as a wide receiver. You could throw Cameron Brate in there as a wide receiver. You could throw Tyler Johnson in there as a wide receiver. Scotty Miller in there. Thank you for adding that one. That's a very important one. And now you're throwing in Antonio Brown, who was one of the best wide receivers to play the game when he was not considered a diva. So that's going to be a story. How is he going to act with Tampa Bay? But so we know right now they have signed him, and it looks like that Tampa Bay offense that is hot right now is going to get even more firepower added to the arsenal.
Yeah, and why not? It's a low-risk deal. Even if AB is still doing what he was doing last year, you're only paying him $2.5 with incentives along with it. So it's not like it's a huge risk. And with Tom Brady there, I think Antonio Brown's going to be able to behave. It's bad that I have to say behave to, I don't know how old is
better
AB.
be a good boy, AB.
Yeah, you better behave, mister. But I think that's going to work out fine. With everything going on there, he'll be happy. Even if he's not getting a lot of targets, he'll just be happy to be back in the NFL. Why wouldn't he be? I mean, he's gone through a lot to get back to where he is now. But I don't think it's going to be like amazing from AB himself, but I definitely think he's going to add something to this offense.
Well, of course, how could he not add something to this offense if he plays like the player that we saw before? Wow, just watch out. But even if he doesn't play like that player, which I feel like is more likely since he's had some time off, he's still going to have a big impact. And I said it before, this team still has Mike Evans. They still have Chris Godwin. And those guys are going to get their targets. Antonio Brown is not immediately going to take over in this wide receiving core and get all the balls thrown to him. But when the ball comes his way, I think he's going to do some good stuff. He's going to make some great plays. And I think that he is definitely going to have an impact on an offense, like I said plenty of times already, that's already shown to be pretty explosive.
Yeah, and Bruce Arians, he made it clear that if Antonio Brown, like you said, misbehaves or is a problem in the locker room or isn't a team player,
put him in timeout.
He's going to be out of there. Bruce Arians made that clear.
Put him in the corner?
Seriously, yeah, timeout corner.
Make him think about what he did.
Honestly, write a reflection about why you don't know. Yeah. But really.
Write it on a chalkboard 100 times.
Oh, God, yeah.
I am a diva.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, Bruce Arians understands and it's made clear that Antonio Brown's on a short leash because of his history, being a problem in the locker room and all the, diva stuff, as you mentioned. But if this does work out, and even if it doesn't, the Buccaneers receivers are already really good, and they have a lot of depth at the position already, especially with those top two guys. And I really think that if you look at Antonio Brown, he might be the number 3 receiver to start. And if you say to someone like 5 years ago, hey, Antonio Brown,
2 years ago,
receiver,
really?
yeah, honestly, they'd be like, what? But when you think about it, you just look at the depth that this team has at that position. Although Chris Godwin's, he's been hurt a lot.
So is Evans. They've both been banged up in and
out
of the lineup.
He's just even more insurance. But again, they still have, Scotty Miller, who's a guy. And,
he's a guy.
He is a guy. He's a guy that they can throw in there. And he's actually been doing some nice things, when Godwin or Evans has been hurt. Really. So he's really a guy that is really coming onto the spotlight when he needs to. But this Tampa offense already, they're good. And you look at Antonio Brown.
We talked about the wide receivers. Sorry to cut you off real quick. But we're talking about wide receivers. We also left out running backs. Ronald Jones having himself a nice year. Leonard Fournette, he's been banged up, but he still can do some nice things. And their offensive line is getting a lot better. Yeah. So this whole Tampa Bay offense is, on paper, really good. And Antonio Brown getting added to that piece of paper just makes it even better. Yeah. Keep going. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was just going to kind of continue on and say that this team has so much depth at the wide receiver position. And then when you list off who their top 4 receivers are probably going to be in no particular order: Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and Scotty Miller.
Go through that slower. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But Mike Evans is arguably a top. No, I'm not going. Just those 4 guys.
Okay.
Or I'm going to say just 3 guys. With Mike Evans, arguably a top 10 receiver.
Mm-hmm.
AB, a top 10 receiver the last time we saw him, like, not being a brat.
Yeah, no, for
and
sure.
Chris Godwin sneaking into that top 10 conversation. So
for sure.
Honestly, I think Godwin is up higher than Mike Evans right now.
There's 3. There's 3 number 1 receivers on this team.
Yeah.
In terms of what we've seen so far and most recently from these guys.
And then you have, Scotty Miller, who's kind of that number 4 guy.
Yeah.
And then for the tight ends, you have Gronk, who he's really starting to, get back into it a little bit. We saw a
he's
nice
come
touchdown.
on. I don't know how much is gonna stay consistent with it, but past few games he's looked alright.
Yeah, he has looked a little like the Gronk of old, and that's not something we really saw early in the year. But hey, when you're coming off a whole year off, it can take a little bit to get back in the swing of things, especially in the current, COVID NFL reality we live in. So yeah, good to see this offense functioning, and hopefully Antonio Brown adds to it and doesn't, cause problems, because that offense is really fun to watch.
I don't think that's going to happen. Like I said before, I think it's going to be fine. And I think this helps. We mentioned it earlier, but in terms of the injuries, we've seen Mike Evans and Chris Godwin get hurt both this season before. AB is a guy that can fill the role. We've seen guys like Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson be able to fill those roles with those receivers. Now they have a much better receiver in AB that can do that, assuming he doesn't get hurt as well.
Yeah, and something else I wanted to mention with Antonio Brown, and we've kind of been talking about it, but I wanted to clarify it, was they did not necessarily need Antonio Brown in this roster. They were just fine with Tom Brady playing well, with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Gronk, who's coming on, or at least it looks like it. They were perfectly fine. It was not necessary to add Antonio Brown. But just because it wasn't necessary does not mean it wasn't a good move. It's the same thing with Le'Veon Bell with the Chiefs. It was not necessary to add Le'Veon Bell, but it doesn't mean it wasn't a good move. I think Clyde, I'm talking about Kansas City right now. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he was playing great football. Le'Veon Bell was not necessary in that backfield, yet it helps a contending team, and it's a low-risk deal. That's what we see in this exact situation. We're seeing contending teams getting good players for low value for a year to try and push towards that Super Bowl run. And I think that's what the Bucs are doing with Antonio Brown. It's a low-risk deal, and it was not necessary, but it's a phenomenal add, and it's only going to help unless he is, he pulls a Raiders or Patriots kind of thing again.
So I think we're kind of getting to the point where we're kind of just like emphasizing our points more. So I have a question for you guys. Yeah. We talked about this a bit earlier before the video started, but assuming Antonio Brown is able to stay healthy and stay out of trouble, what are the expectations for the Buccaneers throughout the rest of the season?
Well, for them, internally and in that Tampa Bay area, it's going to be Super Bowl or bust. As far as Buccaneers fans, that team, the media, probably some people are already saying Bucs are Super Bowl. Some people are saying that before the season. I mean, the Buccaneers, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're really like the Hollywood of the NFL this year. That's where all the big names go. All the spotlights are there. They're on primetime a lot. They really
play that much primetime yet.
Well, they had the third game of the week, I guess. I mean, that kind of counts too, I guess, at least, because they've been on that a couple times.
They probably will be added towards the end of the season.
They played you guys on Thursday.
Yeah.
They were the game of the week 1. So yeah, I mean, they're kind of the Hollywood of the NFL. So in Tampa, the expectation was Super Bowl, but for me, I think they'll finish anywhere from 10 to 12 wins. I still got New Orleans taking the division, but I think that team, they will make a solid playoff run, but I don't have them making it to the Super Bowl, but they could be very close.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Ryan. I think there's going to be some games like the Bears game where they're just going to have a bad game and they're going to drop it. Tom Brady might not play good. If he plays a good defense, he might throw a few picks. Maybe some of those receivers will get injured again. They'll lose some guys. It's not going to help. Maybe Gronk will have a bad game. And if that all comes together at once, or even some of that comes together in the game, they might drop a few games. I still have the Saints winning this division. However, like Ryan said, I still have this Bucs team getting 10 to 12 wins this season, and I have them making a Super Bowl run. I don't think they're going to get there, but I think they're going to put a value and effort towards it. And if they do get to the to the playoffs, just to remind you that Tom Brady, he's been there before, and maybe there's some guys in this team who have never been to the playoffs with this Buccaneers team. But Tom Brady, he's a good leader, and if they do get there, I expect to see him leading. Now that's a long way still. We've got more questions.
Yeah.
But for now, I just wanted to make that point that if they get there, Tom Brady, he's been there before. He's a veteran in this league. You knew that, and that's just something to look out for.
Yeah, I'll answer my own question too. My answer is pretty similar to what Jordan said. I think there are going to be games like the Bears game, like Jordan said, where they drop it. It's just not clicking, and it's a bad day for them. But there's going to be days like we've seen the past 2 weeks where they're completely clicking on offense and rolling over teams. That's, I feel like, what we're going to see. I think they get to the playoffs. They can win a game or two. I don't see them going to the Super Bowl. Like you said, though, it is Super Bowl or bust internally for them.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not willing to say they're going to make a Super Bowl because I get worried that they're going to drop one of those games in the playoffs.
Honestly, I'm just waiting on them for them to drop a game soon. And
to make this
I'm
video
not
all this
rooting
hype
for them
and,
to drop a game, but I'm just saying there's got to be that time. Because with the past with the Browns, we had a lot of hype behind them, and even kind of still. But Odell Beckham Jr. is down now, so that hype kind of died a little bit with all the players there. But still, they have a lot of talent there. There was all the hype there, and then that didn't work. So that kind of makes me a little bit tedious about putting all this hype onto the Bucs. But they still have hype to be had, and I'm watching the train and thinking about maybe touching it.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you just ride it?
Well, because I don't want to jump on the hype train yet.
All right. Well, I mean, this team's going to be good. We know that.
Yeah.
It's moving pretty fast, so it's kind of hard for me to jump on.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Like Back to the Future 3, kind of.
It's actually a very good analogy to that. Yeah. So AB being added to the Buccaneers. I almost said the Browns. They got some wide receiver issues too with Odell going out, but Antonio Brown to the Buccaneers in a huge move of the offseason. He's back in the NFL. Let us know what you guys think. Is he going to be able to keep himself out of trouble? Is he going to keep himself healthy? Is he going to contribute in a big way to this team? We'd love to know, so comment that down below. Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell. Go listen to our podcast. It's just called The Touchdown Table. Anywhere you can find podcasts. Like I said, comment. We will always respond to your comments unless it's something unrespondable, which is very rare. But yeah, it does happen occasionally. But yeah, with that, we'll see you guys later.
See ya.